A billionaire and Browns owner just stood in front of cameras and said he was in charge of one of the most embarrassing times in NFL history. 8 wins in 2 years and 11 head coaches since 1999. A franchise that was so broken that even a Coach of the Year twice couldn't fix it. But here's something that no one saw coming. Jimmy Haslam isn't just letting people go anymore. He's destroying the whole system. From top to bottom, he's changing how the Cleveland Browns do business. And if he does this right, Shedeur Sanders might have a future in this league. But if he messes it up, which is more likely, this team will stay buried for another 10 years. And the time is already running out. Haslam just said that they have 4 months to fix everything. That's all. 4 months to save a whole company. This is the most important offseason in Browns history, and it starts right now. Stay where you are. Hit the subscribe button because this story is about to get crazy. The Cross Country Mortgage Campus in Berea, Ohio on January 6, 2026. Jimmy Haslam, the main owner and manager of the Cleveland Browns, walked into the lobby of the team's headquarters to talk to the press, not even an hour after letting Kevin Stefanski go. For most owners, this would be a short speech, a few easy questions, and then they would go back to their offices. But Haslam knew this press conference was special. This wasn't about explaining why Stefanski left. This was about convincing a fan base that had been through 26 years of bad management that this time, things would really change. And what he said in those first few words shocked the whole organization. Haslam started by saying, "I want you to hear this," and then he quickly turned to talk to Browns fans. First of all, the owners are fully responsible for where we are. It's terrible to only win 8 games in 2 years. It's not okay, and it won't happen again. He stopped to let that sink in. In 2024, the Browns went 3-14, and in 2025, they went 5-12. The Browns had their worst 2-year stretch in modern history, with only 8 wins in 34 games. And for the first time since he bought the team in 2012, Haslam wasn't trying to shift the blame. He wasn't trying to make excuses. He was taking charge. He went on to say, "I want the fans to know that we are just as upset as you are. We really do appreciate how much our fans talk to us. This was amazing." Jimmy Haslam is one of the most criticized owners in all of professional sports. Since buying the Browns in 2012, the team has had 6 head coaches, 5 general managers, and a record that is well below 500. In all that time, they have only had 2 seasons where they didn't lose, both of which were under Kevin Stefanski, who was just fired. People have said that Haslam has gotten involved in football operations, made rash choices, and created a toxic environment that drives away good players. But on this Monday morning in January, he stood in front of the cameras and said he was the problem. Then he dropped the bomb that could change everything. Haslam said in a firm, deliberate voice, "The next 120 days are very important for the organization. We need to hire the right head coach. We need to be smart again during free agency. We have 10 draft picks, 2 of which are number 1s. We have 4 choices in the first 3 rounds. We need to find really good players who are also really good people again. We need to take advantage of trade opportunities when they come up. Our only goal is to have a great 120 days so we can start winning games here." 120 days. The Browns only need to do that to turn this team around. Let's look at what that timeline means. From January 6th to May 5th, 2026. During that time, the Browns need to hire a head coach, do a full coaching search with several rounds of interviews, finalize their coaching staff, deal with free agency, go to the NFL scouting combine, go on draft visits, and hold a 10-pick draft with 2 first-round picks. They also need to figure out what to do with Deshaun Watson, who is owed $46 million guaranteed and has an $80 million cap hit, even though he won't play a single snap in 2025. And if they don't make the right choice every time in that 120-day window, the whole thing falls apart. No stress, right? But this is the part that is making waves in the Browns organization and the whole NFL. Haslam isn't just switching coaches. He is said to be thinking about completely changing the power structure that has been in place for years in this franchise. If he goes through with it, it could be the biggest change in the way the Cleveland Browns are run in their history. The Browns now have a dual reporting structure, which is very uncommon in the NFL. Jimmy Haslam was the boss of both general manager Andrew Berry and head coach Kevin Stefanski. They were at the same level in the organization, and neither one reported to the other. Instead, they both tried to please the owner. Haslam liked this setup because it was similar to how he runs his business empire. At the top, he has several executives who report directly to him. But this structure almost never works in the NFL. Why? Because when things go wrong, it's not clear who is to blame. The coach is to blame for the GM. The coach can put the blame on the GM. The owner has to be the referee between two decision-makers who are supposed to be working together, but are really trying to get more power. Stefanski was the first person hired by the Browns when they changed their management in 2020. He then joined the search committee that helped hire Berry as the general manager. It was an unusual process, but it made sense at the time because Stefanski was coming in as an offensive-minded head coach, and they wanted a GM who shared his goals. But for the last 6 years, that structure has caused problems. Who really made the decisions about the roster? Who got to choose the draft picks? Who was to blame when the offense was the worst in the league for 2 years in a row? There was never a clear answer. Multiple reports say that NFL insiders and Haslam's own advisors are telling him to change the power structure now that Stefanski is gone and Berry is still there. In the NFL, the head coach reports to the general manager, who then reports to either a CEO-type person or directly to the owners. Some teams switch it up and have the head coach report to the GM, but this is rare and only happens with strong coaches like Bill Belichick. What the Browns have been doing, having both report directly to the owner, is something that almost never happens. So what does this mean for the Browns in the future? If Haslam changes the way the company is run, Andrew Berry would be in charge of all football operations, and the new head coach would have to answer to him. This would give Berry complete control over all trades, draft picks, free agent signings, and personnel decisions. The head coach would be in charge of game planning, developing players, and how they play on the field, but he wouldn't be the one to decide who is on the team. It would make it clear who is in charge and finally answer the question that has been bothering this team for years. Who is really in charge? But there's a catch. If Haslam goes through with this restructuring, it will change the kind of head coach the Browns can hire in a big way. A veteran head coach like John Harbaugh might not want to work for Andrew Berry, who just had 2 of the worst seasons in Browns history as GM. Harbaugh has been the head coach for 18 years. He has a Super Bowl ring. He has been in the playoffs 12 times. Why would he come to Cleveland to work for a GM he doesn't know and who has a bad track record? The answer is that he probably wouldn't. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN says that the Browns are less likely to get Harbaugh now that he is reportedly finalizing a deal to become the next head coach of the New York Giants. The Browns losing Harbaugh is a huge blow. He was the perfect candidate, a proven winner from Ohio who grew up a Browns fan. If they had hired him, it would have shown Myles Garrett, Shedeur Sanders, and the rest of the team that the Browns were serious about winning. Harbaugh chose the Giants instead, a team that is almost as dysfunctional as Cleveland, but seems to have a clearer vision for how to run its business. Now the Browns have to scramble to find someone who can fix an offense that was ranked 30th in the league while keeping a defense that was ranked 4th. They are interviewing a mix of offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, and retreads. This is where the problem with the power structure becomes very important for Shedeur Sanders. The Browns are talking to offensive coordinators like Todd Monning, who was Cleveland's OC in 2019, Dan Pitcher from the Bengals, who knows Andrew Berry from their time in Indianapolis, and Clint Kubak from the Seahawks, who was thought to be one of the best young offensive minds in football. They are also considering defensive coordinators like Jim Schwartz, their own DC, who players like Aiden Durr from the Seahawks and Jesse Matur from the Chargers have backed. Tommy Rees, Cleveland's current offensive coordinator, also worked with Sanders during his first year in the NFL and knows his strengths and weaknesses better than anyone else. The problem is this: none of these candidates can overrule Andrew Berry when it comes to the decision about who will be the quarterback. The new head coach has to deal with it if Berry wants to use the 6th overall pick to get a quarterback. The new head coach has to work with Deshaun Watson if Barry gives him one more chance to prove himself. If Barry thinks Shedeur Sanders is just a bridge quarterback and not the long-term answer, Sanders will be done in Cleveland before he even gets a chance to prove himself. And that's what makes this power structure so bad for Sanders. A GM who has already shown that he doesn't fully believe in him holds his future in his hands. What did Barry say about Shedeur on January 6th? I believe we made a lot of progress with Shedeur this year. Like a lot of rookie quarterbacks, he's still a work in progress. I can't tell you today if the answer for the starter in 2026 is internal or external. That's not a vote of confidence. That's a GM playing it safe. If the Browns change the way they do things to give Barry even more power, Sanders will have to do what Barry says. Now let's talk about the 120-day time frame and what it means for Sanders. The Browns don't have any time to waste. Here's how the next 4 months will go. On January 31st, the Senior Bowl will be held in Mobile, Alabama. This is where the Browns scouting staff will see the best quarterback prospects for the 2026 draft in person for the first time. These include Fernando Mendoza, Dante Moore, and Ty Simpson. If any of these guys really impress them, Sanders could be in trouble. The Super Bowl is on February 8th. During the championship game, the league basically shuts down for a week. From February 23rd to March 2nd, the NFL Scouting Combine will be held in Indianapolis. This is where quarterbacks throw, talk to people, and get medical checks. The Browns will meet with each of the top quarterback prospects in private, and this is where they will decide if they want to draft one. On March 9th, free agents can start talking to other teams about signing them. The Browns could sign a veteran quarterback like Malik Willis or Daniel Jones to challenge Sanders. The league year for 2026 starts on March 11. Signing free agents and trading players officially begins. The NFL Draft will take place in Pittsburgh from April 23rd to 25. This is the time of truth. Sanders is out if the Browns pick a quarterback with the 6th pick. If they don't pick a quarterback and go in a different direction, Sanders will have a real chance to be the starter. The new head coach will have been in charge for months by the time the draft comes around. He'll have watched Sanders work out in the offseason and will have a strong opinion on whether the rookie can lead this team. This is the scary truth for Shedeur Sanders. The Browns could hire a head coach in late January or early February, look at him in March and April, and then pick his replacement in late April. There would never be a chance for Sanders to compete. Before his second training camp even starts, he'd have to be a backup. If that happens, his time in Cleveland is over. He'll either sit on the bench for years while a rookie gets better, or he'll ask to be traded and start over somewhere else. Not a single one of these choices is good. But there is a better scenario, and it all depends on who the Browns hire and whether Jimmy Haslam is really serious about changing the way the team works. If the Browns hire a head coach who is focused on offense and believes in Sanders, and if they change the way the team is set up so that coach has real power over the quarterback decision, Sanders could do very well. For instance, Tommy Rees has been working with Sanders all year. He knows what the new guy is capable of. He knows how strong his arm is, how smart he is about football, and how well he can run with the ball. If Ree is the head coach and reports to Barry, but has control over the offense, he could make a system that plays to Sanders' strengths. What if the Browns choose to go in a completely different direction? What if they hire Clint Kubiak, who is known for helping young quarterbacks improve? Kubiak helped Geno Smith get his career back on track in Seattle. He could do the same for Sanders. Or what if they hire Joe Brady from the Bills? He has done amazing things with Josh Allen. Brady could take Sanders' raw talent and turn him into a franchise quarterback. There are many things that could happen, but only if Jimmy Haslam sets up the business the right way. If he keeps the current system, where the head coach and GM fight for power, nothing changes. But if he makes a clear chain of command and hires the right coach, the Browns might finally be able to break the cycle. And this is what I think about Jimmy Haslam. He is in a lot of trouble. He said it in front of the press. Winning 8 games in 2 years is terrible. It's completely unacceptable, and it won't happen again. For 14 years, he has owned the Browns. They've been one of the most dysfunctional teams in sports during that time. He's fired coaches, GMs, and quarterbacks like they're nothing. And now, after all that, he's finally saying that the problem might just might, start at the top. It's the first sign that he knows what everyone else has known for years if he really wants to change the power structure. You can't run an NFL team like a business. You need a clear chain of command and people who know football to make football decisions. But time is running out. The Browns have 4 months to fix this. They are talking to head coaches right now. On January 8th, Jim Schwartz met with the owners. Tommy Rees had an interview that same day. On January 9th, Aiden Durr and Dan Pitcher met with the Browns. Soon, Todd Monin will be interviewed. The list includes Jesse Metter from the Chargers. The Browns are looking at a lot of players, but they need to act quickly. Other teams are getting coaches. The Giants just got Harbaugh. In the next week or two, the Ravens should hire someone. Matt Ryan is the new president of football for the Falcons, who are changing the whole front office. The NFL is moving on, but the Browns are still trying to figure out who they want to be. Shedeur Sanders, a 23-year-old rookie quarterback who just finished a tough first season, is in the middle of all this chaos. He threw 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. He only completed 56.6% of his passes. He was 28th out of 29 qualifying quarterbacks in terms of total QBR. But he also had moments of brilliance. He threw for 364 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Titans. He led the drive that won the game in the last game of the season. He kept plays going with his legs and stayed calm under pressure. And most importantly, his teammates have faith in him. They know what could happen. They know what he can do, but none of that matters if Andrew Berry chooses to draft his replacement or if the new head coach doesn't trust him. This is the point of no return. Jimmy Haslam just told Browns fans that this time will be different. He said the next 120 days are very important. He said they're going to get the right head coach, make smart moves in free agency, do well in the draft, and start winning games. The truth is that the Browns have made these promises before. They've let go of coaches in the past, they've picked quarterbacks in the past, they've changed things up before, and every time it's ended badly. So why should anyone think this time is different? The answer is easy. This is the first time Jimmy Haslam has publicly taken responsibility like this. He has never given a clear timeline. He has never said that the way the organization is set up could be the issue. And if he's willing to blow everything up and start over, not just with a new coach, but also with a new way of doing things, there is a small chance that the Browns could actually get this right. Shedeur Sanders could be the biggest winner if they do. But if they don't, he'll just be another name on the long list of quarterbacks who came to Cleveland with high hopes and left with nothing. Time is running out. 120 days. That's all they own. The Browns are about to find out if Jimmy Haslam really wants to change, or if this is just another false start in a franchise that has always been known for.